Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden financial engines driving modern business. You know, the modern economy is just full of these clever sleights of hand, and things are very rarely what they seem on the surface. So we're going to expose the actual mechanics behind these everyday illusions.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at uncovering hidden business models, the McDonald's real estate illusion, inside the franchise machine, the rise of subscription economics, and finally, the hardware paywall backlash. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Uncovering hidden business models and the internet illusion. So, you might be wondering, why do highly successful channels like Rich Ray or Mr. Finance use these incredibly basic, hand-drawn 2D stickman animations? Why bypass expensive 3D visuals or, polished corporate graphics for something that honestly looks like it was sketched on a napkin? Well, it turns out this intentionally messy aesthetic isn't an accident. It's a carefully calculated business decision.
There's this wild contrast between that cozy, accessible art style and the highly lucrative B2B finance ad revenue engine humming just out of frame. These channels are pulling in massive $15 to $40 RPMs. That's revenue per thousand views, which is huge. By using a really basic visual layout, they take complex, abstract economic theories and make them feel accessible and authentic. And that authenticity, it builds incredible viewer trust, keeps retention sky high, and lets these creators earn massive revenue even with smaller subscriber bases compared to your standard entertainment channels. It is a brilliant facade. Moving to Section 2, the McDonald's real estate illusion, flipping burgers or land.
This brings us to the ultimate behind-the-curtain business model. When we walk into a McDonald's, we see a fast food chain selling burgers, fries, and milkshakes. But the real business model? It's built around being one of the most powerful real estate systems in the entire world. McDonald's is, in many ways, a massive property owner that just happens to sell food to pay the mortgage. This is the core illusion we're deconstructing today. They aren't just flipping burgers, they are leasing land.
Which leads us directly into Section 3, inside the franchise machine, and their strict corporate rules.
The crucial thing to understand here is that buying a McDonald's doesn't just mean owning a restaurant. Actually, scratch that. You don't really own it in the traditional sense at all. You're buying into a rigorous, highly controlled system of fees and corporate oversight. You are paying for the privilege of operating on their land, under their brand, according to their exact specifications. And that means paying regular franchise fees, continuous royalties, and mandatory payments right into their advertising fund. To successfully open a location, a franchisee has to navigate some incredibly demanding steps. First up, you need a ton of liquid cash just to get your foot in the door. Then you literally have to go back to school. I'm serious. You attend Hamburger University for intense franchise training. And finally, once you're actually open, you face constant corporate inspections and you have to pay what's called percentage rent, meaning McDonald's takes a cut of your sales as rent. It completely proves that McDonald's isn't just selling to hungry customers. They're selling a highly structured, incredibly strict system to franchise owners. To build any serious wealth against those kind of overheads, successful franchisees usually need to own multiple locations.
All right, Section 4. The rise of subscription economics, or the end of ownership.
It is absolutely staggering to realize this, but the average U.S. household subscription spend has now ballooned to $273 every single month. From streaming services to software to fitness apps, we are constantly bleeding these small, recurring amounts. It is no wonder that a solid 41% of consumers explicitly report feeling subscription fatigue, because they're just completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of these continuous charges.
Now, there is a massive 2.5 times perception gap happening here, and it shows exactly why corporations absolutely love this model. An astonishing 89% of consumers drastically underestimate their monthly recurring payments. On average, people think they're spending about $86 a month, when in reality, the data shows they're spending over $200. In fact, some data points showed 13% of people underestimate their spend by more than $400 a month. I mean, think about your own bank statement for a second. When costs are broken down into small, automatic monthly chunks, they essentially become invisible.
With global projections hitting over $1.5 trillion by 2033, trillion with a T, the incentive for businesses to hide costs behind monthly paywalls is stronger than it has ever been. If a company can transition you from buying a product just once to renting it forever, their valuation skyrockets. But as we are about to see, there is a hard limit to what consumers will actually tolerate. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the hardware paywall backlash and physical ransomware. Take BMW, for example. They recently faced immense public backlash and were forced to quietly drop their highly controversial $18 a month heated seat subscription. Why? Because buyers aggressively rejected this concept of what we might call physical ransomware. The hardware was already built right there into the car they had just purchased, and the company was using software to hold it hostage for a monthly fee. It was just a step too far.
So where exactly is the line drawn today? Well, consumers are generally pretty happy to pay for ongoing data-driven services, things like advanced driving assistance or active live traffic updates, because those clearly require ongoing server costs and maintenance from the company. But they absolutely refuse to rent physical hardware that is already sitting right there in their own driveway. From YouTube channels masking high-end business models behind messy stick figures, to fast food giants operating as stealth real estate empires, to cars that ask for a monthly allowance just to warm you up, these hidden economics are literally everywhere. So as we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you to consider this. Is the future of business about creating great products for us to own, or is it simply about finding clever, invisible new ways to charge us rent on the lives we're already living? Something to think about. Keep your eyes open, and we'll see you next time.